Welcome back to Sunset City, a Sonic podcast for the classic and modern age. I'm Nick, and within us there are two wolves, both of them named Channel Pup.
Double pup penetration.
And who has two thumbs, two cat ears, and two big bags full of your confused feelings? It's Cirrus!
Yeah, I guess.
And, we got a lot to go over today, guys. Got some pretty big news.
Hey, you guys hear something?
Whoa!
Hey guys, what did I miss?
The dead live! God has abandoned us! Gator Jesus was right!
Oh hey, cool. We got Ellis Mark back. Hello and welcome, everybody. This is Sunset City, a Sonic podcast for the classic and modern age. With me, I have myself, resurrected through the divine powers of visual assets, audio clips, and Adobe After Effects. I have
And the sins against God!
listen, a little bit of that too. We also have B-Theory Professor and PhD.
Can I keep your tombstone?
You can keep the left half, I'll keep the right one.
I'm gonna sell it as an NFT.
Oh, y'all are gonna have that as like a cute little couples thing. Wayne and Pup forever. You guys both have halves of the tombstone.
On second thought, Cirrus, you're getting the other side of the tombstone.
God damn it,
And
just do
second
that.
holder of the tombstone, Cirrus.
I don't know why I know you guys.
And the other guy that wears a green jacket. And probably the most popular out of us? I don't know how that works. This is Nick.
Oh, hello, everybody. How are you doing today?
So,
It's okay, Wayne. Be
I'm
confident.
not answering that.
You literally just came back from the dead. You could have a little more confidence. You just slayed Satan. You're good.
I think we
yeah.
should probably clarify a couple things here. Wayne, if you don't mind me asking you a couple questions for the audience. Are you back for good?
Yep, that's the idea. I just had to work out some things, partially with work. Although schedules may be shifting there again, I'm definitely feeling like I've got a better handle on the whole store manager thing, and I'm I took a unexpected, but I think partially needed break from YouTube for a little while there. I was trying to get out a pretty chunky video and it didn't really work out, so I'm moving on to something a little easier, something a little smaller, just for the meantime. And I think it's doing some wonders for my mental and physical health.
Well, it's good to have you back, man. I'm
So,
speaking for myself, but I think...
What did it feel like getting hit by the gun truck and dying?
Well, it hurts the most in my spleen.
It's good to see you're feeling better now, though, buddy.
Was
You
it
just
the
had to go
contract?
collect all the Chaos Emeralds and then bring it back to life. Then you...
Did he have to
Yeah.
get
Just
kissed by a
a swirl or
princess too?
something. Sure.
There was getting kissed by a princess. There was something about shitting out a Phantom Ruby. A lot of stuff happened.
Nothing's happening.
We definitely, though, we need to do a quick shout out for our pal Al, who donated $2, and once again is back at it with the Nick X Sally Acorn shipping. But as well as that, he's recently hatched up Pup X Rouge, which he commented on my Sonic Unleashed stream recently. The man, he loves his shipping. What can I say? We should call him Amazon, because he is lightning fast with that shipping.
Is it really a ship if it's completely canon though? Like, I'm sorry, I think Nick
As far
X
as I'm
Sally is just
concerned.
canon at this point.
Need to figure out how much it's going to cost to get that life-size Sally doll from that dude.
Oh, Jesus. Well, hopefully everyone is having a good time on our second live episode of Sunset City. I know that some people have recognized that there was a bit of a cheat at the beginning. There was not one. No, this was all live. Wayne came live. We are all very surprised. Shh.
We quite literally meant live. Like he was brought back to life.
Yeah.
We just, we had our robes, we had our sacrifice of the goat, channel goat specifically, and, just our dark chants, and now we are damned forever to a fiery eternity of hell once we release our mortal coil, but it's going to be all be worth it.
We get like 40 more years of Wayne, though, so it's fine.
It's fine. I do love the chats, though, man. Like, we've had some good ones, like, life is temporary, Sonic is forever.
Death is temporary for Sonic tubers.
It was nice to see LS Mark. It was good, actually, to see LS Mark in there asking, who is this man?
Who is this man? What's funny is he has absolutely no idea who this man is.
Oh, Jesus.
Probably.
That ain't Wayne. It's Maine, his evil twin.
Oh, God.
No, twin, it needs to be Wayne backwards, which would be like Ianor.
Wait, hold
I
on.
don't
Wait, Wayne backwards. If the E is silent, it's
Anor?
it's some weird bastardization of Nya. Wait, Wayne, is your evil twin a cat girl?
Give me a second. We got a $5 donation from Ryan Darkclaw 643. Wayne, was it the Burger King burger that killed you? And how did you defeat it? Yes, the answer is Whoppy did absolutely murder me. I was only able to come back after tasting the sweet, sweet nectar of Sonic flavored G Fuel.
Oh, God.
Whoppy literally
Which brings us
commandeered a
to
gun
today's
truck.
sponsor.
So we're getting very inside baseball with all these references and stuff. Should we start the show?
I think so.
Yeah, let's not make our audience a total third wheel at this point. Let's get this orgy underway.
God. All right, look, we had a lot of stuff worth talking about the day after we put out our last show, but as Sir's pointed out, we had already done like 2 shows last week, so we're like, we'll just wait. So far, nothing's happened today. We'll see if anything does, because I've been hearing rumors for Nintendo and this and that and the other, but we got Sonic Rangers to talk about. How you guys feeling about all the leaks that we've been coming across so far?
I think it's been interesting. So if we want to talk, do we want to talk about it like chronologically, the stuff that's happened with Rangers, starting from like the old 4chan post?
Sure.
Because I know the first thing was there was a 4chan post of somebody mentioning that they played an early build of a game called Sonic Rangers. It was an open world game, very Breath of the Wild inspired, and they got a chance to play what they said was the final boss, and also about 20 minutes of exploration in the overworld. And apparently you collected tokens or something in the overworld, and that let you get into Sonic Generations inspired levels. And then they mentioned that the game was Sonic Rangers, and then when you go forward in time, we get our leaks for the new Sonic game coming out, and Sega accidentally leaks that the name of the game is Sonic Rangers in their press releases. I don't think that was very intentional. So we don't know if it's circumstance, but it could very well be a confirmation that we are in fact getting that open world Sonic game with the potentially boost-inspired levels within it, which is something that I think all of us had already been pretty excited to try. The only awkward thing about this is that if the 4chan leak from before is actually accurate, they said that the game felt like it was in very rough shape, and this was as of January, so there's only been about 5 more years of development since then, but the game's coming out in 2022. 5 more months. Years? 5 more months of development. Sorry. 5 months of development. We've only had 5 more months of development since then.
Before we lose it, we need to quickly shout out Aki Dave with the $1.99 super chat, who says, "Oh man, it's Scott the Was. Welcome back, Wayne."
Yeah, 40 years of me back.
Is that it? That's your
reference breaks it down by 5 years.
So what I was going to say is I do think like Sega accidentally leaking the name themselves does give it obvious credence, and obviously like that wasn't the only Sega fuck up as well. Like their upload of the Sonic Colors Ultimate imagery was in PSD format,
and it had layers that were called Rangers.
Yeah, so like okay, so I think that pretty much gives credence to it being the title. What I will say is, would they really let like a beta tester play the final boss of all things?
I don't think so. I really don't.
And I'm not worried about that.
The final boss, no.
Yeah, it's a nice chunk set aside for people to test out and get some. It doesn't matter how they set it up. They can change that stuff around before the final release, and even the name itself. We don't know when in 2022 this is coming out. This could just be the code name they're using right now. I'm not super concerned about the name. I'm concerned about the last little bit there where the dude said it played pretty rough.
Yeah.
And that's worrying to me.
And we haven't had that much development time from then until now. Sonic games classically already have pretty crunched development schedules. So hearing that it was in rough shape 5 months ago, and if the game is slated for a 2022 release, I don't know how much more development time we're realistically going to have between then and now to polish that up. And polish is kind of the one thing that all Sonic games, at least a lot of the 3D Sonic games, almost all universally lack.
I mean, hey, there's over a year left of development time.
There is.
You gotta think about that as well. And most Sonic games are developed in around about the space of a year. So what I would say is probably a lot of time has gone into like the architecture and levels and stuff like that, and they're maybe going to be doing a lot more polish on it later on. We do have another super chat that says it's $9.99 from Julian Rodriguez, who says, Rangers for sure is not the final title. Way too similar to Forces. The IGN re-upload of the trailer doesn't have the wisp sound effect in the beginning. Probably not a wisp. Love you guys. Stay sus.
Amogus.
Thank you, Julian.
Yeah, after the leaks, I think the leaks are probably spot on here. Like any worries I've had about wisps or stuff like that is just out the window.
It does bring up an interesting idea in that I think Rangers might simply be a working title or a project title. Oftentimes games or large-scale projects like that will get a project title that won't necessarily be the same as what's actually on the box art. There was kind of a neat little, I think it was just kind of a meme, but somebody took like that symbol from the end of the teaser and they were basically going through the geometric shapes and everything and filling in the gaps, and they were essentially able to make a really cool looking like logo that said Chaos.
Yeah,
like Sonic Chaos.
What's better than that though? I saw one person that turned it into 062. Which
Yep.
Yeah.
I think is with
Mephiles.
Oh god, I would love to see Mephiles come back. I'm not gonna.
I would love to see Mephiles again.
It's Mephiles in his gamer pad.
Oh my god.
No, but I would love it if they did like an in the new timeline reworking of Mephiles. If they stopped pussying away from 06 as a concept and were just like, hey, here's Mephiles as a villain. He's not the same one. He's this universe's Mephiles. He's got slightly different goals, and like this is who he is. You know, like I would love if they did that.
It's never made sense to me that, you know, there's this like connection between Mephiles and 06, and that seems to be what the fan base assumes is the reasoning why they Sega doesn't use them. But like Silver's been here this whole time.
Literally,
What's the difference?
I think that
It makes no change at all.
So I think the difference is realistically, Silver fills the role of the rival turned friend, which is the same thing we get with Knuckles, same thing we get with Shadow. The logic behind Mephiles being tied to 06 and that being the reason why we haven't seen him, I don't think that's true. I think it's because he was the villain specifically, and very rarely do we see the villain outside of Eggman of any Sega or any Sonic game come back. We've not seen a return of Perfect Chaos outside of Generations. We've not seen a return of Bio.
Yeah, but we saw Chaos. We saw Chaos Zero appear in Sonic Forces. I know it's
he's
quite
shown up a couple
one,
times.
We had the
cameos
Chaos prototypes in Sonic Adventure 2. We've had the Biolizard return in Generations 3DS. Zavok just won't fuck off.
So I think using Zavok is a different exception, and there's a reason. I'm gonna go into why Zavok's an exception. The difference here with all those is when we can't use Generations as a template for like, oh, but some characters have come back, because the whole premise of Generations,
the whole premise of that game, is
people coming back. And then again with Sonic Forces, is even though that's the evil game we aren't supposed to talk about, but in Sonic Forces you have the fact that Infinite literally brought back past rivals and past enemies as his gimmick.
Zavok is back in Team Sonic Racing though.
Yes, and the reason that I think that Zavok is able to come back and is different than characters like Mephiles, different than other characters, Zavok and the Deadly Six, as much as people hate them, they're very blank template characters. They're designed to be recurring villains. Mephiles, Biolizard, characters like that, they were not recurring villains. They were designed to be one-and-done world-ending events.
Yeah, but I mean, by that logic, Shadow wasn't as
Shadow, Metal, Sonic,
know-
like they were designed as one and done kind of things, but they still made their way back. We got more super chats, by the way.
Yeah, we should catch up on some of these super chats.
JR sends $5 and says, wasn't a leak from August 2020. Maybe the demo was earlier than January 2021. And it is every possibility
True.
that this guy that's posting it might have, excuse me, live, everybody, me coughing, might have posted this quite a ways after what he did. Maybe there was much deliberation about breaking his NDA or something like that. And also, it is worth noting the whole "it plays rough" thing is subjective, because I know that like IGN will be like, "Oh, Sonic Unleashed plays rough," and it's like, whatever your issues with that game, I don't think that's really it. Another one, once again from our pal Jamal. He sends $5 and says, "What Sonic villain do you guys want Sonic Rangers to be more like? Sonic 06 or Sonic Forces?" And I guess if I were to respond to that, I think Infinite and Mephiles feel similar in some ways. Like, they're completely different, but I feel like Mephiles was like the consolation prize for 06. Not Mephiles. Infinite was the consolation prize for Mephiles fans when they were bringing back all those villains. So it's like, what Sonic villain would I rather have for Rangers? Would it be one more like Mephiles or Infinite? I guess I would say Mephiles.
I would honestly, personally, entirely say Mephiles. I think and remember nothing of Infinite. I don't even like his theme song, and everybody else does. You're all wrong. I'm kidding, but and I don't want to just shit on Forces all day. We do that enough. But it's like it's more of a personal preference kind of deal, where it's I know the first thing that I was excited about when I saw the teaser. You start seeing like ancient temples and runes and stuff like that. That's what got me excited. I like the mystique. I like the almost otherworldly nature of some of these antagonists and stuff like that. That's what I loved about Chaos, you know. Mephiles kind of fit that bill. And I think a big problem with somebody like him is that it's hard to bring him back, because then you get the time travel shit, like mudding everything up again.
It would have to be a different Mephiles, like one from this dimension. Like, I pitched something on Twitter the other day where I was just like, wouldn't it be great if we had like a Sonic game where there's like the impending threat of Mephiles as this great otherworldly threat that wants to, you know, use the flames of Iblis to cleanse Earth, and he wants to use the Chaos Emeralds for it, and Infinite is drafted into the battle against Mephiles and gets kind of a redemption arc.
The one.
So, you go ahead, Cyrus. Sorry.
I was just going to say that as I like that idea, I'm curious if we did get an idea like that, if they would actually flesh out kind of what the Phantom Ruby does a lot better, because I'm going to be honest, Forces was never really clear on like how much power the Phantom Ruby really had, because it seemed that it bounced between, oh, this thing makes illusions, and no, this thing makes real copies that do real damage, and the narrative kind of like fluid fluctuated between the two ideas. And I would love to see like that kind of pitted up against someone like Mephiles to guarantee that we'd know, oh, this is how this thing scales in power.
Yeah, but I mean, like, just we're gonna be stuck in Forces again. Like, just like that stupid Phantom Ruby. Like, what the hell were the Chaos Emeralds doing in 06? Because they were doing everything. That they used them for everything.
But I mean, I would say it turns thoughts into power is a better explanation than, oh, it makes illusions, but they're not illusions because you can feel them, but they are illusions, but they do real damage. Like, I don't know, it's a bit more wishy-washy.
Well, my point is, we'll get back to that in a second. I've not been speaking for a minute. Let me get this out here. The Chaos Emeralds bring Sonic back to life, and they travel through time in 06. Like, what is even the point of the Phantom Ruby? I just really wanted to answer the question before we get back to the other super chat, and we really got to get back to the Rangers here. In terms of Rangers, I don't want to see either of them. I don't want to see Mephiles. I don't want to see Infinite. If this is going to be a clean break and this is going to be like a fresh new formula, then let's get a fresh new narrative and antagonist, and let's take it somewhere else before we revisit those ideas. That's what I want to see.
I do think the question was not so much if we wanted to see those specific characters again. It was if we wanted to see something like those characters.
I don't want either. I thought 06 was a pretty miserable narrative, and God, Force is even worse.
One more thing before we go over that super chat. That I would like to say is I would still rather see Sega finish off ideas that have potential than hatch new ones if they're just not going to finish those as well.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I would rather see part 2 of Infinite and see him done right than here's the new Sonic villain, Feet Man, and Feet Man doesn't get a proper payoff. So, anyways, moving on to the super chat from Mao. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. He sends 2,500 Chilean pesos and says, I hope for the love of God they make something like Utopia or GT instead of just copying and pasting a chunk of Hyrule with a few badniks sprinkled in. I mean, going by the leak, it said that there would be stages within it. Okay, so US dollars 5. I'm hoping that characters like Styx, Knuckles, Rouge, and so on get worked into ranges, even if it's just quest NPCs. I want to see them again. What I would say to that is, I want to see quest NPCs again. I don't really care who they are. Okay, what do you guys think?
So, I want to see them in just because I'm a fan of the extended cast of Sonic. Like, I really would like to see those characters in. There was a thing that was mentioned in the leak originally that does kind of concern me where that's concerned. And it was them saying, it was something along the lines, if I remember right, of only Roger Craig Smith had voice lines in it. But that, again, that doesn't necessarily mean that they would not have other people recorded later on down the road. What's in the demo isn't always what's always in the game. But I would like to see those other characters in, and I would like to see them utilized properly. I don't want to see a "This is War" Knuckles again.
I just read that last super chat. Let's quickly address these. Okay, so Ryan Darklaw 643 sends $4 and says, "How do you guys feel with Sonic having a Rouge gallery like in superhero cartoons or comics using the Deadly Six?"
That's how he spelled it.
Okay.
Okay, leave
I'm
it
okay
be,
with
okay?
I'm okay with the Rouge gallery.
It's quick typing, okay? Leave it be. Yeah, I'd be game for a Rouge gallery. I'd be game for a Rouge gallery. I think, there's... But then again, I do like Dr. Robotnik as, the recurring nemesis. But, I definitely don't want to see any more of the Deadly Six. Unless they're going to actually turn them into characters rather than stereotypes, I don't want to see them again. What do you guys think?
Fuck the Deadly Six.
I think
tired of them.
I think the Deadly Six can be really well utilized in the comics, but I don't want to see them in the games again. Because in the games, as much as I think they're great, narrative devices for, to be used by IDW, in the games, what they mean to me mechanically is that 6 of my potential boss fights in this game will be taken up by these characters that I don't care about. And
unless they did a big, you fight all 6 of them kind of boss fight, which could actually be pretty sweet.
That I would be okay with. Make us fight all 6 at once. And it's Sonic's been able to beat each one of these individually, sure, but he's not been able to beat them all at once. And that was kind of their flaw in the original, in Lost World. I'd be okay with that, because then they get to just be there for a single fight, and we might have some narrative stuff with them, but it also means that they might not take up so much of the narrative to where it's distracting that they are cardboard cutouts.
So we've got 2 Benjamin Franklins from Alzora Sonicu, who says Suris has some big honkers.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna take a chill pill on the super chats for a little bit, guys. We are nearly half hour in. We've not been talking about Sonic Rangers. We need to get into it.
Yep.
I definitely think it's Sonic Rangers as a concept, just based off what we're hearing. If it actually is kind of similar to those leaks that we were seeing and everything like that, I find it both enthralling and very worrying.
Yeah,
there is a.
I agree. I think we knew this was going to happen as soon as Breath of the Wild dropped and how big of an impact it had on the gaming industry. We knew it was going to resonate, and we would see copycats. And it was going to take a while. It takes a while to get a game made. And Sonic, I don't know if you guys have noticed, he's been tending to copy what Nintendo's been doing. Lost World is a clear sign of that. So I'm worried because I think they've understood Boost well enough, but then Force has happened. Like I've said 1,000 times, I don't think they understand the core foundations of Sonic gameplay from the Genesis era that could really benefit from a 3D environment to play around in. And I worry that they don't understand the core character that they have, and they're going to try and mix it in with a gaming concept that they thought was cool and they think is hip and trending, but don't actually, again, understand what makes us Breath of the Wild as impactful as it is. I know it's a very pessimistic outlook. I don't think Sonic Team's the worst developer in the world, but I also don't think they're really a game changer in the industry right now.
So I will say this: there is something that I'm very excited for that I think Sonic Rangers could fix. So what's one of the things that we all universally don't like in Sonic, especially I know, Pup, you had this issue in Sonic Colors a lot, where there would be filler levels that just had a single mechanic that you had to exploit that in any other Sonic game would have been, just a standard run-of-the-mill, this is a thing you do for 30 seconds of the level, the set piece, and the rest of the level happens. I think, though, if Rangers takes from the Breath of the Wild formula, if you take the shrines in Breath of the Wild and translate them into those little mechanical challenges from things like Colors, or even the ones that you have in Generations as filler between the levels, I think that the shrine mechanics translate really well to those little challenges, because they're all optional. You can do them whenever you want, whenever you stumble on them, and when you stumble on them that's probably what you're going to be getting into. So if they lift the shrine idea wholesale from Breath of the Wild and have it as inspired from it as they can be, I think that those mechanical challenges actually translate really well to that formula.
I think they certainly can do. I mean, like, as well as that, like, I'm to be honest all for the open world Breath of the Wild style thing. I do think it is kind of a betrayal of what Sonic started out doing, the way that Sega keeps trying to kind of do what Nintendo does for, the recent years and stuff. And I think Sonic Breath of the Wild is definitely kind of another instance of that. But I think if Sonic is going to ape on these formulas, he needs to do it in a way that almost kind of pokes fun at it, in a way that's kind of self-aware, or should I say, meta.
No.
Like Sonic needs to kind of have an awareness as like, fuck you, Nintendo, we're doing this, and we're doing it with attitude. Like,
yeah, that's what the 90s was. It was Mario. It's like, okay, cool. We're going to get a little wild and crazy with it, and we're going to make it our own thing.
So like if they did that with the Breath of the Wild style formula and kind of almost parodied it, because it's another thing I was mentioning in my Sonic Unleashed stream the other day, is Sonic, all throughout the ages and his publicity and stuff, he's always had that kind of thing of almost like, he's like the Deadpool of video game characters in a way. Like in publicity, on his Twitter and stuff, he's a self-aware character with a snarky attitude, and he's quite funny. He's quite humorous, and it's like he's blue and pisses all over everything was literally one of the marketing tags of Sonic the Hedgehog 1. So like, act like it in that case. If you're going to ape Nintendo, wear it like a badge and be like, yeah, we're going to do it better.
Hey, I'm sorry, I gotta ask real quick. I see my character hopping around a lot. Is there like some like phantom noise coming through my mic or something?
We can't hear it.
I think they're sensitive.
It comes down to sensitivity. It reacts to, like, if you breathe into the microphone, it'll pop up. Don't worry, we'll just put it in canon that you're a very bouncy person.
Wait, folks in the chat, I think it's just important to state that if you do send super chats, we might need a little time to answer them, but we will get to them eventually. Please don't feel discouraged from giving us your money.
We just we just have to also make sure that when we're engaging in these kind of conversations, that we do have a time where we can talk to each other.
Like, so just like bear with us. We'll kind of like gather them up a little bit, like our former mailbag, aka the piss.
God damn it.
Here's something I thought interesting about the name Sonic Rangers, regardless if that's the last thing or the final name or not. What does it actually mean? What is the point of that? Because to me, that implies, at the very least, multiple playable characters.
It could also mean that there's a multitude of enemies that are basically like Sentai enemies that Sonic will have to deal with, which means we might get a copy-paste of Deadly Six. Oh god, no. Oh. Damn it! I've talked myself into a nightmare.
Maybe the Rangers are literally attractive human park rangers that Sonic has like an attraction to.
Oh no.
Look, as
By
long
the
as
way,
the-
just to all viewers in the LGBTQ plus community, I just wanted to say have a safe and happy Pride.
Yeah.
Oh, I want Sega to use Hypersonic as a gay icon. I just want it so
I mean,
bad.
absolutely. Look, he just
They
flashes
could
through
call him
every
Rainbow
color.
Sonic. Literally, just to piss you off, they could just say like, "This is Rainbow Sonic. He's a new character."
No, man.
Sonic
Have
3 and
have
Knuckles
balls.
isn't valid.
Just call him Gay Sonic.
Gay Sonic. And all the Sonic and Shadow Yowie exploded.
Yep.
They're all in
basically.
pirate
That's
costumes too.
we've figured it out now. Like, so in Sonic Rangers, he will have the power of homosexuality.
Ah!
You're not even good enough to be my top.
Hi guys, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'm a power bottom.
Oh god. Oh god.
So very quickly, Hatsworth sends $4.99 USD and says, hopefully the Unleashed style levels are different and engaging, something that rewards skill. Also, great Unleashed gameplay, pup. Can't wait for more. Oh, well, thank
look
you.
at
I can't
you.
wait to serve
Wait,
you
which
some
streamer
more.
were you watching, Hatsworth? Because when I was watching Pup, he was failing as the werehog.
That was yesterday
I know.
because I hadn't eaten and I was having a hard time and it was an off day. If you saw me the day before, I did better. I played fucking Eggman Land yesterday to prove that I'm not bad at it.
It's hard to stream and game. I've noticed it's gonna take me a little
It's
while
the
before I get the
streamer's
hang of it.
curse. And as well as that,
It's a
like the way
challenge.
my capture card works, I can only see the game on that little OBS window, that little Streamlabs OBS window. So I'm being a very tiny version of Sonic Unleashed as I play it. So it is quite difficult to necessarily hit all of the. I'm just making excuses. I don't give a fuck if I'm bad.
All right, so more about Rangers because I want to keep picking this apart here. So we also know that according to this leak that there's a skill tree. There's puzzles littered around the map. I wish he wasn't as vague as he was because like it sounds very much not like a Sonic game. It sounds like a very traditional open world game when they're like, oh, button mashy combat, skills to unlock. And I mean, no offense, Pup, because I know how much you love Unleash, but my big problem with Unleashed is most of the time it's not even bothering me in a Sonic game. And I'm very worried that's what we're going to come across here, where instead of puzzles, where in my brain it goes immediately to like physics-based puzzles where you need to use Sonic's different skills and momentum to blast off to get an emblem or whatever the hell you have to do, right? Like I'd assume like it'd be like the open world is designed around Sonic's ability to zip around as quick as he does. I'm worried it's going to be like literal like stop everything and shuffle around some like a sliding puzzle or some shit like that.
There is
And
a
then punch
It's
bad guys.
exactly what they need to avoid. Like they need to make it so that it is running. It's still a aid with Sonic level design philosophy. But as I said in a video recently, it either needs to have a lot of kind of locked doors in front of certain areas or verticality, because otherwise, like if you just dump Sonic in Hyrule, it's going to make quick work of it.
Oh yeah, there is a thing that I think they could do, because I think even if we have a very vague idea of what Rangers is going to be, we can talk about the things that we hope to see in there. And one of the things that I think I'd really like. So Nick, you mentioned that you want there to be the puzzles that they mentioned, but you don't want them to be puzzles that don't feel like Sonic things. You don't want like Unleashed style puzzles again, essentially, at least not in a big way. So I think
No, I don't want any of it. Like anytime Sonic does something, I want it to be this is distinctly, uniquely Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm playing Galaxy again, or oh, I'm playing God of War, except slower.
There's a good way they could handle that. So I think all of us can agree that Sonic Adventure 1 controls very, very well, at least as far as like giving you the ability to kind of interact with your environment in unique ways that only Sonic can do. Think of like bouncing around using the spin dash jump in Ice Cap Zone as an example. So if they were to have puzzle areas operate like that, where it's like, hey, you've got a big thing over here, you've got to try to set this arena up in a way that Sonic can spin dash all the way to the other side to get there, or you've got to use, if there's like another like trick mechanic, say like they had in Sonic Rush, where you've got to use these things correctly in order to gain momentum to get to a goal within a puzzle area, I think that would be fine, because at least then you're operating like Sonic's supposed to operate.
Yeah. We should probably get to a couple of the super chats now, because we're finally staying on point here.
So this is
Yeah.
actually a Sonic Rangers related question from our Power Jamal, who says, will Sonic Ranger only have Sonic, or will it have his friends as well? I believe, according to the leaks, it just said that Sonic is the only playable character.
Yeah, but it doesn't. So it's the leaks said that only Roger Craig Smith had voice lines in the demo, but that does not necessarily mean that the final game will only have Roger, because that would mean that Roger would also be voicing Eggman. So I don't think that's indicative of there only being Roger in the final game.
Roger is Eggman. I mean, if they got Mike Pollock as Sonic, they'd finally have a Sonic voice actor that sticks around for a little bit, hey? Then we've got Ryan Darkclaw 643 with $5. How do you feel if Rangers plays like Lego Dimensions Sonic World levels with the open world in that game? So not the main like little Sonic story, but in that little open world area that's dedicated to Sonic. I will say this: I like that gameplay style on paper, but it is very janky. Like
Lego is kind of its own thing at this point. I need to play the Sonic's gameplay in Dimensions, because I mean it is still run by folks that are familiar with Sonic the Hedgehog. That is Traveler's Tales. They were around during the Saturn era, but
to give you kind of the rundown, as far as like an official project goes, it is the closest we've got to having classic Sonic play in 3D. The problem is that he doesn't deal with things like loop-de-loops very well, and like his reactions to things like springs can be a little bit jumpy. Like you can find scripted events just aren't responsive enough, and that's kind of more of a problem with the overall game framework than it is with Sonic in that game. So it's like, if they could iron that out and just make it like a 3D classic Sonic game in a way, yeah, fine. And if he had like a punching move, yeah, why not? But like, it's to be less janky.
I want 3D classic Sonic ultimately. Ouroboros Studios, we've talked about his game quite a bit here. We should probably have a more of a chat with him at some point. But he asks, open world can be a great idea, but mobs and bosses are of interest in this concept in the first place. Unleashed with Werehog here is the best. Yeah, I mean, again, like, it's exactly what we're talking about. It's just a matter of how they implement it. Like I said, and what we keep talking about, and I think we're in agreement. I don't know if they're going to do open world Sonic, make it open world Sonic, not Sonic in an open world.
Yeah, I feel like I get what
that
he's saying, though,
means.
because it's like, if you were to take the Werehog and just stick him in Breath of the Wild, it would work better than it would with Sonic, but that's why you need to design that open world with normal Sonic in mind, you know, like...
Yeah.
Well, that's... There are some ideas, kind of... I think that there's some concepts of the whole, like, Breath of the Wild style that could possibly work better for Sonic than they do even for Zelda. And then there's a lot of it that sounds so great on paper, but man, you got to get that execution down pat, or it's just going to be boring.
Yeah.
So
let's go ahead.
Oh, sorry. What were you going to say, Nick?
I was just going to shout out the yeah, me too.
Oh, okay. Do you want to just take it from here, man? You know,
I'll just do a couple of them. You've been doing so many of them. I feel bad. Some random idiotic nerd threw a buck our way. Thank you.
You've missed one though.
We are
Oh shit.
We are all some random.
The Zero
idiot nerd.
Neonix.
I can't read them from our screen.
The Zero
I see it.
Neonix says, "Do you think the cat will come back? I think it was popular enough in Forces. Will they bring it back? Maybe that's what the skill tree is. What was the cat? Oh, custom avatar character. I don't think it will, but I would like it if it did, but as like a bonus thing, not part of the story.
I agree.
It's possible. Yeah, I think it's possible, if only because that was like the main talking point of Forces coming up to that game.
Yeah, that game was trying to give us so many talking points at once, but yeah, that was like the big deal. I think with the some of the bits we're seeing with colors, I don't think the idea is completely dead, but until we hear otherwise, I think that particular idea is probably on the back burner while they focus. again, because as I always do, focusing on Sonic and making him work in whatever formula they're attempting this time. When Dylan Thomas threw a couple bucks our way and said, "Hey guys, hey Dylan, nice to see you here, man."
Hi, Dylan.
And yeah, do we have any other thoughts about Sonic Rangers at this time? Should we just remain wait and see, or what's everyone kind of feeling right now? Like, what's your general feeling as far as like these leaks and what we got so far? Are you confident? You trepidatious? Where you at?
I'm a little more optimistic than I expected I would be. Literally, I'm the easiest person to please when it comes to Sonic. You give me ancient runes and temples and stuff like that, and I'm happy.
I'm trepidatious only because we've been burned so many times by Sega where 3D Sonic's concerned, and even recently sometimes where 2D's concerned. But I think cautiously optimistic is where I'm sitting. Like, I want this to be a good game. The things that I'm hearing about it, even in the leak when the person's saying it's rough, I don't care. It sounds like a Sonic game I want to play. It sounds like something I'd be excited to have my hands on, even if it doesn't pan out to be perfect. So I'm going to be cautiously optimistic.
In terms of like the leaks and stuff, I feel pretty positive about it. As I say, my optimism is not without some caution, but like ultimately, I think the idea sounds like a step in the right direction. I mean, there's also every chance that these leaks could just be complete arse gravy, but like they sound pretty pucker.
I think there's just too many chances that this is probably on point, and if not, whatever. Regardless, I think they are clearly. I mean, I was worried about Wisps, obviously, when we first talked about this, but I mean, everything's kind of pointing to like they're going to try something new. I think ultimately, yeah. Like I do err on the side of caution, regardless of where I stand with the last decade of games. I think they're okay, but I think they're just okay outside of like generations. But even then, I think it's mostly wrapped around nostalgia that really makes that game stand out for me. But
can I just say I agree with Sam?
What's that? Hear me
No,
out.
so
Shadow
Sam
with a
says-
gun in Sonic Rangers.
There it is.
Thank you,
I'll
Sam,
do
for
you
the
one better.
$2.
Do you one better.
Get a sniper scope going. You know what I mean? Big open world.
Shadow with a dildo wisp on. in
There you
Sonic
go.
Rangers.
Perfect.
Hey kid, nice Glock.
Imagine the guy yelling it though, going dildo.
That stupid,
God.
sexy blue hedgehog again, of all places.
Wait, does that
Oh
mean
my
that they'd
God.
be orgasm fakers?
Oh, that's sad.
Stop.
Sad.
No.
Let's
Too
move.
much.
Let's talk about the one that's in the picture. Let's talk about Sonic Colors Ultimate.
Yes, please. Let's do that. I get more the more I hear about it, the less whatever I am about it. I was very like meh when we got that revealed on the stream, and I wonder if I would have been that way if that hadn't been leaked. I think I would have been pleasantly surprised like I initially was when we first heard this was coming back.
I'm excited. I've actually never played Colors.
There's a couple things
Hmm.
in this version of Colors that I'm interested to see how they're going to pan out, because I know that we're getting Tails in it, not as playable, but as sort of like a lifesaver, like almost an easy mode type of deal.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how that's going to feel to play, because Sonic Colors wasn't a very punishing game to begin with.
We're getting quite deep in here. Like what I was just gonna say is like it's funny just how like last week when we did this, I was like the least likely person to buy the game. I straight up fucking pre-ordered it, but like there are some things that have definitely sweetened the deal for me, and I'm gonna say this. You say it's not a very punishing game. You probably haven't played it since it came out, because it is kind of like with
I played
bottomless
it. I played
pits-
it literally 2 years ago, pup. I've played it recently.
Yeah,
so
okay, 2 years versus a week, okay, mate. So there's quite a difference. But like,
2 years versus 10
there's
years.
there's a lot of bottomless pits in that game with block platforming above it, especially in Planet Wisp. Tails is going to come in handy there. But like, it's not just the Tails thing. Like, I'm gonna say this right now. In that trailer that they released, I thought it looked worse because it was darker. It looked like they just abused the bloom filter on it and just called it a day. Since then, there's been people that worked on the game releasing stuff on ArtStation, which has now been taken down. I hope they didn't get into any trouble, but they've shown off new shaders, they've shown off new environments in like the aquarium park, and the game looks gorgeous. This is the kind of stuff I needed to see the first time around, and I'm so glad I've seen it now because I'm feeling good about this. Like, there's a whole new a whole slew of things that have been now confirmed since we last talked about this, such as new modes and, you know, Tails tokens. I think it all sounds like they're doing their best to make colors the best it can be, and I fully support that.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea. I mean, Sonic Team's not focused on that right now. They're going to hand it off to a studio that's proven themselves with ports in the past. And it sounds like, yeah, it's what we expected. None of the stuff is going to affect the core gameplay. I think we're still getting the exact same game. It's just going to be a little bit prettier. And Tails is, yeah, he's probably going to be in easy mode. And that's nothing new. Like, again, like Mario's been doing that with, white Tanuki suits and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's fine. That's cool.
We also had the Jade Wisp, which changes things up a little bit.
Allegedly, I've heard that they're changing some level designs to accommodate for that Jade Wisp as well.
Yeah,
so I'm intrigued.
That'd be great.
Because it lets you move through walls and stuff, so...
Do you know how the Tails thing works, by the way? Do you know what you have to do to get that mechanic?
Yeah, there's like a medallion in levels where once you get it, you have a certain number of Tails lives that he can save you from bottomless pits, and you keep your rings whenever he saves you. You don't like get punished for it. You just lose a Tails life after you've gotten the medallion.
I think that's a really good idea, because I did have problems with bottomless pits, especially on that fucking spring level in Starlight Carnival.
Yeah, I can understand that. The spring levels feel weird because it's almost like
too impatient for it.
It's almost like an auto scroller, but a bad auto scroller.
It's weird how no one talks about that, yet they talk about the one auto scrolling segment in Forces. This is just something like people, I think, thought that when I did a Sonic Forces v Colors video, I was trying to drag Colors down to Forces level. Nah. I'm just trying to say that we should kind of be a little fairer on Forces. It's supposed to make you feel more positively about that game, than more negatively about Colors.
What's funny
there's consistent lows that's been carrying through the decades. I don't think Sarah's as bad as people make it out to be, but that doesn't mean the criticisms aren't valid, you know?
Yeah, oh, for sure.
It's hard because it's like, as I think I've said it before, Forces isn't even like one of the worst Sonic games or anything like that.
No.
It's just so easy to latch onto things that we're unhappy with it, and it does come up a lot because it's just the most recent thing that we have to go off of, and it's been a little while since we've seen something else. And
I think literally, like, the most egregious thing about it isn't the problems with the game, but what those problems represent. The fact that we've seen these things get sorted and fixed in the past, and now here they all are in full force.
Yeah,
it's the most egregious part for me. But like, if you had like a solid script on that game, half of the people complaining on Twitter would not even be saying a thing about that game at all, because people care more about the cutscenes than they do about the actual gameplay. So
it does
being blunt about it.
It does bring in like I guess we're going back to writing. It's going to be interesting going back to Sonic Colors, just because, like, while I have not played through that game in its entirety, I've played a bit of it. I played through the DS version in its entirety when that came out. And the humor never landed for me. I don't know how everybody else felt about it, to be perfectly honest.
It's
the Eggman, whatever thing. Those things were funny. Outside of that, it was
everything that Sonic and Tails said made me feel like a bad Saturday morning cartoon, but everything that came out of Mike Pollock's mouth was fine.
It's fair enough that they wanted it to be a Saturday morning cartoon. They were going with what was popular at the time, I guess.
It's like getting into when we're adding in like new characters and stuff later and stuff like that. The writing is such an important part of making us like those characters and making them feel like they're an important part of this universe and everything like that. And I guess kind of going into this super chat that I kind of breezed by earlier. Lizard, Yellowtail. donated $5 and said, "Here's an off-topic question: with Tangle and Whisper increasing in popularity, if they were added to newer games, which team would they join?" I would be super down for Tangle and Whisper getting added in, but I'm also kind of worried about somebody outside of the comics like writing for them. If we get writing that's like that in Sonic Colors. And I'm kind of like on Mike Pollock and that game. Eggman was funny enough, I suppose. I never groaned, but I never laughed.
As for the Tangle and
Has to
Whisper
work
thing,
with what he had, man.
If they were to do like a Sonic Heroes sort of thing, they'd be their own team, but they'd add a third character in.
The third character would be Jewel. It would be Tangle, Whisper, and Jewel. Jewel would be the flying character.
Yep.
Well, knowing Sega, they'd do something completely random and be like Tangle, Whisper, and Orbot.
No, it would be Jewel, because Jewel's
Tangle, Whisper, and Zavok.
God damn it! To say Jewel's been established as the level-headed third wheel of that group already, so it should just be the flying character. It'd be fine. Let's get a Heroes remake with all the IDW stuff in.
I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I think it's fascinating. The Colors remake or re-release is just, it's fascinating because if you get out of the Sonic Twitter bubble and YouTube comments, it shows you how little all these festering complaints actually matter to Sega or the wider gaming audience. Because everyone's talking Baldy McNose hair and all the cringy lines and everything else, and then
that stupid throw it up there. Right joke annoys me too. I'm sorry, I gotta get this out there. Everyone always
terrible.
It's a stupid joke and it's not funny.
It's also wrong too.
I laughed in 2010. So I think that's kind of all that matters.
I laugh in 2020 at that joke. I laugh in 2020's over. Sorry, I laugh in 2021 at that joke still.
I mean, the thing I'm just going to say is, like, it is important to remember that in terms of Sonic Colors, they were aiming for the Saturday morning cartoon thing. They were aiming it at children, and we are all in. That
is not an excuse. That is not an excuse.
We are not the target
writing is
audience.
Bad writing. You can do good writing for kids.
Sure, but humor is also subjective.
Avatar: The Last Airbender exists.
Humor is not as subjective as people like to pretend it is.
But it is subjective because a kid is going to shoot milk out of his nose when he hears Baldy McNose hair. Like your average kid.
I mean, the best way I've ever heard it put is that humor is not really subjective. What makes you laugh is subjective, but if like somebody farts, that might make somebody laugh, but that doesn't mean it's a well-written joke.
Oh yeah, of course, but I think well-written game about a hedgehog for children are just not things that are going to necessarily gel. I mean, there are
worst thing in the world.
Thingies.
Yeah.
There are
it's not the worst thing in the world, no, but
I mean, put it this way: I think Colors tends to get lumped in with Lost World because, like, Lost World does there's a minimal cast thing. It even repeats the Baldy nose hair joke, and I think that's the worst use of that. Like in Colors, I think Baldy McNose hair is just fine. It's a little something to get the kids to shoot the milk out of their noses. Whereas in Lost World, it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, now come on, like.
I think
we're 2 games later.
I have to say though, I mean, even if this is for kids, and it is not the most offensive thing in the world to me. It's not like I had a good time even back in 2010, like sitting through all that stuff. It is one of those things where like, and it's because I just grew up with games and I got used to very embarrassing dialogue and cutscenes, like the themes that they were playing with in that game. And this is more egregious to me in Lost World. I have to do a whole video on it because. Just the narrative themes that they could have taken, that they've done in the past, that they just completely fucked up on. You can take it into a more serious thing, or at least like have a point there, because there is a point. Like the Wisps are being taken advantage of, and their natural world is getting destroyed by Eggman. Like that's literally what Sonic the Hedgehog started off with,
and yet they botched it.
Also, something I just want to refer back to is I know you guys bring up Avatar: The Last Airbender, but that kind of quality is not something that should be taken for granted. Like, that's what I said about, like, Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 the other day. I say it with this. Take the energy that you put into hating the Sonic Colors writing and put it into celebrating just how much better than it needed to be Avatar: The Last Airbender is, because it is going above and beyond the Call of Duty. And I think in wanting Sonic Colors, a game made for children to appeal to adults, you still got to recognize that you are asking for it to go above and beyond the Call of Duty. Like, by all means, ask for better writing. Like, I would
Mhm.
love it if Sonic stories were appealing to adults and children alike. Some media is, but I just do not think said media should be taken for granted. And I don't think we should punish the writing for not going above and beyond. You know, they're clearly aiming low with this, and it's okay.
I think that
Right.
is fine to a degree, but it's also I don't think that there's anything wrong with like pointing out, hey, i- again, this series has done it before, where it's like Sonic Adventure 1, replaying that recently, just a Gamma's story. I felt something through that, and there was enough to just kind of latch onto to where it's like, there's kind of a point to this. It's not an incredible narrative or anything, but it's enough there. And just in Gamma's story, I got so much more like plot than I got from like most recent Sonic games. And part of the thing
Sure.
is, we got I guess Big Guy, I'm familiar with you. Hi. Trying to find a story and lore in Sonic is a fool's errand. Not every video game needs a story. I agree and disagree. And I
have to vehemently
I-
disagree with it because they've established Sonic as having lore.
Yeah, Sonic has always
But they
had
changed
lore,
it.
and it's part of the reason that the games have lasted as long as they have. It's the same thing with like superhero games or anything. When you're creating a good superhero game, you can't rely on just the action because these characters are not just popular because of the action.
But
You can
you
have
make-
any.
You make
You
a
can,
great
though,
point, but what I'm
Spider-Man
going to
too.
say is, like, another thing I just want to point out is, like, Suris says Sonic was established as having narratives and stuff. Your Sonic was. Our Sonic. You and me, our Sonic. But Sonic is made for the next generation now, and they're making these games to meet the demands of what that generation wants. And we can piss and moan about it all we want, but Sega doesn't make these things for us. They
But
make
it's
them for
still
people
within the
younger
same
than us.
canon. It's been here for
It-
30
yeah.
years. It's allowed.
Then yeah, like then what I would say is rather than change it back to what it was, they should erase it. Like just say, okay, we're no longer referencing old canon now. This is
So-
Sonic now.
Okay, so the thing for me is like, let's take Sonic 3 and Knuckles for an example. I think it's some of the best storytelling the Sonic series had. You can completely ignore it if it's not the sort of thing you're into, but if you're willing to like look into it further with no words through just the events that are happening, you're getting told a story, not of just what's happening here, but what's happened here ages ago, possibly hundreds of years, and you're getting so much more sucked into the events and everything. The game is more fun because you're invested. The gameplay is better because you care about what you're doing.
Yeah, but this is that's a difference between lore and like here and now dialogue between characters. Like these are two
Yeah.
completely separate things. And I don't agree with the comparison between Avatar and this because that writing team's fucked up more than a couple times already with their different stuff.
Yeah, Avatar
And-
is not flawless.
No.
And regardless, it's a completely different beast. But in comparison to other like Saturday morning style cartoons and stuff like that, I mean, because the guy who worked on it worked on Bump in the Night. He's worked on literally Saturday morning cartoon stuff before, but I don't think the jokes land very well because they're not super well told. It's like blatantly obvious for children, like really really little kids, and that's going to be a very jarring disconnect between Unleashed and everything that's happened before. So I think they could have aged up the demographic a little bit because like again, like even if we come to its defense, we have to keep in mind like they kept that consistent with a world where they go into Lost Hex and they invade like the inhabitants of that world. Like literally what happened in Sonic 3 and Knuckles and even back in the Genesis days, they understood like the greater themes of that. And, you know, like you could take colonialism away from that. You could take a lot away from that. But like they were still you didn't get anything from those villains. They were flat, boring the entire way through. And then Forces happens and it's trying to be this dark, serious narrative, even with translation issues aside. Like they had not built up these characters. They had not earned anything they were doing. And I think it's okay after all this time to go back to Colors and be like, yeah, fucked up. And
Yeah, like
I'm
something
with you.
I just want to point out though is like basically like yeah, the problem that Sega are in right now is they can't decide whether they want to write these things for little babies or if they want to write them for long-time fans. And these two things do not mix. Trying to pander two sides doesn't mix. Because that's what it is. They're not just
I
orienting
disagree.
it.
But I disagree though, because like, let's stop comparing Avatar. Let's look at the IDW book.
Oh, nobody's bringing up Avatar. I mean, even if we're just
I'm
talking
not
about
do that.
games,
Just if we could like hear me out for a second, is like Sonic Forces and Sonic Lost World are more egregious examples than Colors to me, because they not only try to be like, ha ha ha, baldy nose hair, you have no friends, they also try to be like, none of this is good, Vector, that's why it's called war, or I'll get fat from eating your black hearts, you Zeti scum. So, like, those two things are completely tonally dissonant, and it doesn't work. Sega either needs to decide whether this is a franchise for itty-bitty babies, or whether it is for long-term fans. Is there a mid-ground? Yes, but it means that they can't keep pandering so hard to both demographics. And the thing is, I think a lot of adults would accept if Sega just said, these are games for kids, but you can enjoy it too. But they don't need to keep on pandering with it. The thing I just say when it comes to Sonic Lost World and Sonic Forces is, the writing is awful because of how inconsistent it is, and it doesn't stay true to itself. When it comes to Sonic Colors and Generations, I can understand wanting more, and I completely empathize, because I'm right there with you. I much prefer, personally, the Sonic Adventure storylines. I much prefer Unleashed. Heck, I'll even take an 06 over it. But there comes a point where I look at myself in the mirror and say, I am not the target audience for this. I'm not who Sega are throwing these games at, and maybe it's okay that I grew up, but Sonic didn't grow up with me.
So my thing with that
is... I don't think that's... go ahead, Wayne. I'll let you
go. Sorry, I feel like I've been taking the mic a few too many times so far.
You're back, dude. We want to listen to you talk. Don't worry about it.
So my thing with that is that it's like, you say we're not in the target demographic. I think we absolutely are, because they keep marketing it to us, to people that grew up with these games, and that's why we keep going.
I think they can't decide.
It's like,
can't decide whether or not they want to give IGN a reach around, or whether or not they want to make a children's game.
and that's where you and I are in agreement, is that it's like they don't know what they want to go with. I'm cool if you want to go less story driven and stuff like that. Dude, I don't know what the hell the plot of Sonic Mania is. There's a Ruby. Things happen. I don't care. I just want a fun game to play. In that instance, it works fine for me. It's like when you get with I don't want to keep shitting on Forces. Sonic Lost World, when they're trying to have a plot, and when they're trying to have a story with meaningful interactions where, Sonic and Tails had a falling out and they want you to pretend to care, it's a different thing if they are still trying to do it and they're just doing it badly.
I think they're only making it worse for themselves. Sorry, go on, Nick.
No, I'm in agreement with you, Pup. I think it really is a matter of, like, they don't know what the hell they're trying to market to. But a good storyteller is a good storyteller. And I think you can see that regardless of whatever demographic they're trying to go to. So I don't really sit behind the, well, it's not made for you. I get that, but it doesn't mean it has to be bad. It doesn't mean it has to be cringy. And I've said it 1,000 times. Kids do not like it when they are being spoken down to. But I look at Mania, and I look at Mania Adventures, where it's silly, it's quiet, but like the humor hits hard, and even without them showing it one time, just looking at the little shorts that Tyson has put out there, and know if they were given a proper writing team, that little set right there, like that aren't even allowed to be in the games directly, those little stories would resonate so much more if they were allowed to branch out emotionally, because I trust those guys as storytellers. And I think that's more important than trying to figure out what demographic they're going for, because regardless of the demographic, even if you made it for little kids, you can it's still adults telling the stories.
I fully agree with that. Wholeheartedly. But it's why I still determine that while I don't think Colors is brilliantly written by any stretch, I think it's fit for purpose. Whereas I think Lost World and Forces are unfit for purpose. With Colors, I guess my main criticism would be just, I would really appreciate if you aimed a little higher, but you did fine. And as well as that,
I'm with you there.
They
Yeah.
did meet the demands of the audience. Every Sonic fan back then was saying, "Holy fuck!" Sorry, I accidentally hit my microphone. Holy fuck! Sonic 06, so melodramatic, and then they didn't play Sonic Unleashed, and then they were like, Sonic Unleashed, so melodramatic, and then Sega were like, "Oh, okay then." And like people wonder why I antagonize so much over what critics are saying about my favorite shit. It's because I've seen this happen twice now. I loved Sonic Unleashed, what it did with the story and stuff. It's flawed. It's a great little piece of video game history, and I love it. And fucking the critics looked back at it, and now it changed into something that I think is very much inferior. And then if we just want to bring the Snyderverse into that, yeah, fucking critics ragged on that, and now it's gone. So it's like everything I love gets ripped apart by people who don't get it, and then I lose out. And it fucking pisses society, man. I'm telling you, society.
I mean, it does.
One, I'm telling you.
It does.
The thing
say
that
a lot
I
about
always get
society.
irked with about this is like when people react like, "Oh, they changed everything for audience reaction, criticisms, reaction, everything." Like that was fucking happening back during the original 3D era stuff. That's why Shadow the Hedgehog exists.
Oh, yeah,
It's
that's
why
nothing
they added-
new.
It's why they added Tails in a mech to Sonic Adventure 2, because it was originally just going to be Eggman.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
they were just like,
It's great
people were saying, if Tails isn't in it, I'm literally going to kill myself. So they then copy pasted Eggman and changed it to Tails. Which
Oh,
is,
whoa,
this
need my
society.
box.
it worked out.
I also did want to, if we wanted to get back to colors, I guess touching back towards maybe less in terms of writing, but more in terms of structure. We actually did miss a little super chat from Gabriel Nance, who donated $2 and said, Nega, Mother Wisp, and side missions in DS. Thoughts? I think that's an interesting topic to bring up. Do you think that they'll try to work those into the Ultimate version, since those were never in the console edition?
I don't think so.
I don't think they will, and I desperately wish they would.
They've already announced they're doing the Metal Sonic stuff in it. They've already announced obviously the Tails mechanics in it. They've announced a small expansion to the multiplayer, which ties into the Metal Sonic stuff. I think if they were going to bring in the side missions from Colors DS, we would have heard about it by now. But no.
Yeah, you're
They're not.
probably right.
Like I agree with you that having that extra stuff would be good, but I just don't see Sonic Team doing that. It's just like how me and Bup would both like to see an Unleashed Ultimate that brings in the levels from the Wii version. But I just don't think Sonic Team's going to have the wherewithal to do that.
Also, boy, do I have big ideas on how they could make a great remaster of Unleashed at this point. But like, that's a story for another day.
Yeah, that's I guess that's the one drawback to having like multiple versions of the same game, especially when like the inferior version has things that the big console daddy version could learn a thing or two from. That's always been the case, and I wish they would. I mean, it's not even Dimps that's making this remake,
Yeah.
or remaster, whatever it is. It really is look like they're just taking the core code and sprucing it up here and there. And yeah, as small and bite sized as those challenges were, I wouldn't be surprised if instead of them like merging it together, they just made more of them.
And it's always such a shame when it's like you see a remaster or a remake or something, and it has the chance to be the end-all be-all definitive version of something, and then they add too much bloom, and then they kind of ruin the original visual style, and it kind of goes against the whole purpose of the original game. And the GameCube version of Wind Waker still looks better. Anyway, sorry, Pup, what were you saying?
You're not wrong about
there was-
that.
There's a great little message up here that is just something I just wanted to quickly elaborate on, because it's something that I think I could have mentioned earlier. Is Davidson Dolliver said, honestly, I think people aren't talking enough about how concerning Sonic Rangers being on the Switch is. That could really hold the game back on a tech level, and it is something worth noting. I think a lot of people are thinking the first Sonic game on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X is going to be this visually dazzling thing. It's probably going to be about on the same level as Sonic Forces, or maybe Team Sonic Racing, which was the better looking game of the two. But what matters ultimately is not so much the graphical fidelity, but what they do with the art direction. And if that trailer's anything to go by, it looks good. But yeah, so don't expect like some fucking masterpiece.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are still in the transitionary period between systems, and it's going to be for a while. And yeah, just like with the Wii, it's as long as Nintendo is being successful with weaker hardware, Sonic is going to do whatever they can to get onto Nintendo hardware. It's just how that's going to be. And I think it kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie. I would like more focused video game. I think that worked in Alicia's favor. It worked in Color's favor. Because they focused up and they made a game specific. Well, no, I mean, I literally forgot Unleashed exists, but still, it's still solid for what it is.
Bringing Dimps into the equation.
Unless they're bringing,
Nintendo fans get a new Dimps game to look forward to. I mean that's how you solve it. Of that. There was rumors.
That's how you solve it, though. You bring a separate developer in to work on the lesser hardware. I doubt they're doing that. I doubt Sega has the budget for this shit anymore.
We almost never see that now with changing generations. But what I would say is, if Sega were to bring in a secondary developer to do like a secondary version, the thing they should absolutely do is try to replicate the real one, not any more of this alternate versions things, because people hate that. We had that years ago. I'd like to think that we've moved on from that and we can just get the same game, just only utilizing the features that it can. So I have Dimps just work on a downscale. We do have a specially personalized super chat from Ipso Lizard Yellowtail, who sends $5 saying, Pup, if Unleashed got remade, which final boss for Dark Gaia would you like to see? The Wii or the base game? I have played the Wii version of the final boss, and I gotta say, it feels very arcadey. I know a lot of people prefer it, but it feels very old school arcade machine to me. I much prefer... I know you just fight his force field, but like I prefer the Xbox 360 one. But that said, ideally, like a hybrid of the two. You fight off the fucking, the penis things with the giant force field, and then you ram into his eyes, like in the Wii one.
I will say
maybe.
The Wii version, I feel like the Wii version was almost a copy-pasted version of the Althwala La Layla fight from fucking Sonic and the Secret Rings. And it's for better or worse. Like, the claw strike attacks and a lot of that stuff is lifted from there. I'd personally like to see that version come back, though.
Fucking what did you just say?
Althwala La Layla. The final in the final act of Secret Rings, Eraser Jin absorbs all the secret rings and becomes Althwala La Layla, the Eater of Worlds.
Yeah,
you could have literally just called him Perfect Eraser Jin.
They weren't fucking around with using the source material, did they? Damn.
You have to be weird, Ferris.
I like Secret Rings. I'm sorry.
Bringing your weird anime shit in here.
I want to say this about the Switch port. I want to say it with a level of positivity, but I can't because we've seen Switch ports. Breath of the Wild is a Switch game. I mean, it's a Wii U game, for God's sakes. And I just if they focused up, they could make a fantastic game on the go that looks a bit better on home consoles, but that's usually not how that works. It usually, goes the other way around.
It's worth noting that like Breath of the Wild has that cel-shaded look, which simplifies things a lot, whereas Sonic, I think, is going for a more realistic look. I'm going to say this, shaded Sonic game. Get on that, Sega.
Please.
I agree.
With Tyson Hess animated cutscenes.
That would almost... a cel... Okay, so am I the only one that thinks that Sonic Shuffle looks almost cel-shaded?
It is supposed to look cel-shaded.
I would love to see that again, but in like a modern engine.
I thought it looked good for the day, but yeah, it's that was quick. Obviously a rush job.
I gotta look this up again.
I did.
I remember exactly one thing from Sonic Shuffle, and that was I was over at a friend's house, and they booted up the Dreamcast, and they were like, "Hey, did you know about this old like Sonic Party game? It's like Mario Party, but ripped off by Sega." And I was watching the opening cutscene. I was like, "Huh, this is interesting. Never heard of this before." And I don't know if you know this about me. My least favorite thing, the one way you can lose me instantly with your game's mechanics, is adding playing cards.
Oh,
and I saw a playing card fly through the screen, and I started screaming. That's the only thing I remember about that game.
Wayne hates Chain of Memories confirmed.
I absolutely loathe Chain of Memories. That's the only Kingdom Hearts game I've never played the entire way through. I stopped and read the manga instead.
It's better on GBA than it is on PS2. That's
what I heard. I've also heard it's easier to break.
It is, but like that card, it's a stupid system, but
It really
it's
is.
a little more manageable on GBA. I did want to respond to the people that are saying this. Like, this is why I was trepidatious about comparing Breath of the Wild to Sonic. I was just saying, like, the Switch can perform fantastically, but yeah, people are right. It's like Sega's not going to optimize for the Switch. Like, that was an in-house Nintendo game. Of course, that's going to look amazing. And like, yes, I know, but. We're probably going to get a pro system here before the end of the year, too.
Man, I don't even know if all of Nintendo would be able to do what Breath of the Wild did. They had Monolith there, and I don't know what kind of, like, children they've been sacrificing, but they've done things that should be impossible. Just look at Xenoblade.
Yeah, honestly. The Nintendo is always good at getting the best out of their own systems. That's just how that goes. I have no faith that the Switch version of this game is going to be worth your time.
Yeah.
Let's get that out there now. But... yeah. Did we have anything else we wanted to talk about in terms of Sonic Colors?
Honestly,
Looks good.
I am so there's one last thing I want to touch on with it that I'd be very happy for. Aside from obviously, the PC version is going to have modding potential, yada yada yada. That's all. We all know that that's what happens on PC. I'm interested to see if we actually get any DLC with it. I'm interested to see if they actually like properly expand Sonic Colors.
Yeah, Supersonic.
No.
He's already in there.
I'm sorry.
Classic Sonic DLC for
I'm
Sonic.
sorry,
Colors.
the gay Sonic DLC.
Hyper
Don't forget the Santa
Dildo
shirts.
Sonic. Now,
Colors Ultimate, a level creator. You really could. As basic as some of those designs got, you really could.
yeah.
I mean,
Literal
I've been thinking for a long time. Sega just wants to literally like make things easy for themselves. Release a Sonic level creator. It's like make your own fucking Sonic game in that case.
Wasn't there a fan project being worked on with that concept?
There is, but it's exclusively classic Sonic, but it looks damn good. I've seen they did like a version of
looks
Marble
so
Zone
good.
in it, and I was like, "Ooh, it's Marble Zone, but it's actually cool."
He hasn't released anything
Oh.
playable yet, though. But I mean, I'm excited to check that out when he finally drops it, because I mean that looks better than like what Sega's pumping out there. I'll tell you that much. Did I ask this last time? Where are you guys feeling like? And Wayne, you weren't here for the. Well, I mean, like early on. If you remember the Zippo leaks, how are we feeling about those now that we have all this information out there? Do we think he was on the money there, or do we think he just got lucky? It's like he did mention stuff that's kind of, what he's talking about. We're getting Origins
What
collection.
did Zippo actually mention that came true? Because I don't think he mentioned anything that came to light.
Well, he said we're going to get 3 things specifically that I remember. He said that we're going to get a Sonic collection of some of the more obscure games. I don't think that's part of his speculation, unless I'm misremembering that, but he said that we're going to be getting a Sonic collection of games. He said that we were going to get a new 3D game that was going to be more open 3D adventure style. So again, I don't know if that's him misinterpreting a Breath of the Wild stuff, or if a wider open 3D Sonic just associates with adventure. And he also said that we're going to be getting a new 2D game that's not a sequel to Mania. Again, we still don't have a lot of information, but now we have a little bit more.
I don't know. I feel like all that stuff is just we might get a Sonic game that's a Sonic game, effectively, in many ways. Like,
Oh my god, I would
Sega-
love a Sonic game.
Sega literally fucking jizz out collections every chance they get. And then, like, it's a 2D game is also the collection. Go figure. It's like saying, okay, what's the new Sonic game? It will be a collection. Okay, right, so it's going to be a 2D game. Yes, but there's going to be a 2D game. Yeah, okay, we covered that. And also, I believe the collection thing didn't even originate from Zippo. That originated from listing on, like, a French store.
No,
I don't know.
It was Zippo
I
first.
feel-
It was Zippo first.
Okay, maybe it was Zippo first, but I mean, okay, Sonic releasing a collection is not exactly a fucking golden lightning bottle prediction. Let's be real. So I can't say. I just think Zippo is Zippo. I think maybe he's right about things. Maybe he's not. The thing that intrigued me the most was the whole Sega were at one stage working on adventure remakes, but bailed and made Sonic Forces instead, because it certainly feels that way.
Yeah. He
talking
predicted
about a
Sonic 3 would be
lighter?
back. Yeah, he said that about Sonic 3. I'm sure whoever was putting that project together just kind of dropped that on him before they announced Sonic, because Sonic Central was just like a couple days after that. So he definitely has some sort of insider information. He's dropped leaks of other games that have been proven correct before, and there's no telling like what can change between what he's heard and what's actually announced for different
This is
games.
also true. It's just, I'm very dubious about any leaks, because it is like, why would someone just tell you this stuff? And that's my number one question every time. Even when it's these guys that are posting this stuff to 4chan, this Sonic Rangers thing seems to have some credence, but it is just like, why would you risk getting sued just
Because
to get some
people
internet
just
clout?
want to talk about this stuff, and
People
there
get
is,
sued.
People,
Like,
but they
Yes,
do it
people-
anyway. They
people
do it
risk
anyway. It literally happens all the time. All the Sonic tubers were just like, "Oh yeah, I knew about Colors months ago."
Yep.
So I'm
people-
gonna assume that somebody is like just babbling to these guys.
People risk breaking NDAs all the time, and the thing about 4chan is that you are, for the most part, entirely anonymous on the website. There are plenty of people who go in and do an alpha test of a build and will just spill their guts on an anonymous message board. Why would they risk being sued? Dude, people do illegal stuff all the time. There's plenty of reasons why. They want to talk about their stuff, they're going to do it.
And stuff leaking is so common nowadays. I mean, just last night, I'm not sure if you saw, but the SMT5 release date and story details all got leaked because somebody messed up with the promotional website. It's like it happens so frequently now that it just never surprises me when somebody has information they shouldn't have about an upcoming project. So
Sorry.
it's like,
There's too many people
If-
involved with this stuff. There's millions of
you're
dollars
wondering-
online. Yeah, some
Wayne,
of the
if
stuff's
you're
gonna just
wondering
drop out.
if you're wondering why you made me laugh, it was just this sequence of words you said. Oh yeah,
Stuff
stuff
leaks.
leaks all the time. I mean, just last night.
I will say, but Pup, you need to understand, stuff
You
does
hurt
leak
me,
all the
Pup.
time. It as you get older, it gets more normal.
It is mommy milkers. It's just
God damn it.
Cat tits.
Yeah. Let's see. Kiddis had said on there, I'm sick of leaks. I kind of am too. I mean, we do a Sonic show. We're going to be talking about the Sonic news and stuff like that. So we're going to have to talk about it. But at the same time, like I was saying at the front of this, I wonder if I would have been more excited with Sonic Colors if I had just gotten that at Sonic Central instead of that being leaked prior to that point.
Yeah.
And that would have been a much nicer surprise. It still would have been where's Christian Whitehead? What are they doing? What's
It's
going
there's a
on?
part of me that kind of hopes that the leaks about Sonic Rangers and everything aren't true. I almost hope it's under a different premise. I almost hope it's under a different name. Everything, not because I don't like any of that stuff, but mostly just because I would rather be surprised.
I feel like had Sonic Colors Ultimate been announced at Sonic Central, you got to think this was announced before a new game was
Mhm.
announced. So where my reaction was, okay, so that's happening now. In the original Sonic Central stream, I would have just been like, oh, for fuck's sake, because I would have thought, okay, so this is all we're getting. But no, at least with that leak, I was able to think, okay, so maybe something else is next. So I guess the leak saved me from making an idiot of myself. I don't know. Well, making more of an idiot of myself. I do that myself perfectly all the time.
Same.
I think it's a good sign of things to come, though. I mean, I don't think an Unleashed remake is off the table, and I certainly we're going to get Adventure 1 and 2 back in some form or fashion, be it a full remake or just an HD double pack. They're going to come back.
Yeah.
Those games are never always or gone forever. I did have to mention this because I knew people were going to bring it up. Or when I mentioned Christian Whitehead, they formed an independent group. They're working on an original game. Where there's no big information there, and there's no reason they can't be working on multiple projects at once until you hear from those creators. I know Stealth is already out. Until you hear from Christian Whitehead himself and that dev team that they are not working on a Sonic game, they're probably working on a Sonic game.
You just
I'm
reminded
sorry.
me of something. I mean, for starters, I think they're working on Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But, you just reminded me, recently leaked was the 2005 Christian Whitehead 3D Sonic demo. Did any of you see
yeah,
that?
I saw that.
Yeah, that's true. You wanna catch our audience up to date on that?
Looked very Sonic
So
Jam.
basically, there was a there was a leak of a Christian Whitehead 3D Sonic demonstration, and it's quite a lot like the 3D world from Sonic Jam. Now, a thing worth noting though is this was 2005, and in 2005 we didn't have things like open source Unity or Unreal Engine 4 and stuff like that. So this was just what a dude made in his spare time, and for what it was, especially in 2005, it was smart. He did demonstrate like an understanding of like Sonic like gameplay philosophy to some degree anyway. So I think it is a demonstration that there's something there to be nurtured. I would love to see what he would do now if he did a 3D Sonic engine. And like I hope we maybe see more from him in that regard. But I do think that if he can, Sega would be fools not to give him a shot with a 3D Sonic game. Maybe not making the entire thing himself, maybe not it being the Mania team that makes the entire game, but supervising Sonic team, working as a consultant or something like that. I think it would be the smartest thing in the world to have the Mania team play a small role in the production of Sonic games from now on.
Honestly, stranger things have happened.
And this would honestly be like an Ice Frog situation almost, like what happened with Dota 2. When Ice Frog got hired by Valve, the engines that he and the code that he had access to from other teams, Valve was just like, yeah, no, we own this now. We're going to do stuff with it. I wouldn't mind seeing Sega do that with Christian Whitehead stuff. Like, hey, we hired you. Can we use this shit? Can we do it? Let's go.
I don't think that Sega solved every one of their problems just yet, and I think Rangers is going to have a heck of a lot of things that people are going to pick apart. I think it's ultimately going to be like fine. And I know I always sound pessimistic. I think I've been giving that a lot for people recently. I'm not trying to poo-poo on anyone excited for any future Sonic projects. I just, until Iizuka and Sega management steps down, I think we're going to keep running into the same consistent issues. Just like I don't want Yuji Naka back, because Balan Wonderworld proved to me that even if he's run into a lot of bad luck, he's had definitely a lot of bad luck. Like there's a consistent issue with the way he runs his projects, regardless of the challenges that are set forth to him, because Sega management's being a piece of shit. But we do have Christian Whitehead. We have Ian Flynn. We got people that are like super talented. Sega has hired them to do things. And I think, going down the line here, I do think that as more and more talented people who grew up loving this stuff get hired to make this stuff for us, it's just going to benefit us in the long run. Because I don't want Sonic to be 2D forever. I want that to flourish in every possible way it can. And I want him to be a contender. I want him to make Mario sweat again. And I think we're going to get there. Maybe not just
that
quite
sounds,
yet, but...
So, Nick, are you saying that you want Sonic with his leaks to make Mario sweat?
Fuck off, serious.
Yeah. Look it up every day on Google. That's how it goes.
One thing I was going to say is the number one thing that I ask for from this game now, the number one thing, is commit to 3D at last. It's the one thing I need that's going to give me total reassurance in the franchise, unless they manage to bugger absolutely everything else up. But that's the number one thing I want to see. If it's like there's some 2D in there, but it's mostly 3D, okay. Like I don't want any more than 30% of the game in 2D now, because like the recent Sonic games, with the exception of like Lost World, have been 90% 2D. Oh, and Generations. Like Generations is more 2D than 3D, but like it's more like 60-40 with that one.
If they're gonna use it, it needs to be good 2D, because ironically enough, like the last set of games I've been using 2D have been more basic ass platforming than even Sonic 1. I will die on that hill. It's
No, I feel you. I feel you.
I don't need more of that shit. That's why I went to Sonic in the first place. I don't want to go back to it with Sonic. So if they're going to be using 2D, it's got to be Sonic 2D. And I know we've talked about that before. I don't think block platforming is the worst thing in the world. I don't fucking want it back, though. Not in any stretch of the imagination do I want it back. And I'm not looking forward to those parts in the remake of Colors. But
we We've got
We
a really
missed the-
funny super chat here.
Yeah,
From
go
Supersonic
for it.
68. Again, Supersonic 68, please just change your name to 69. It would be so funny.
No.
Christian Whitehead says, "Okay, Izuka-chan, this is a slope. When Sonic goes down it, stay with me, he goes faster. You think you can do that?"
I think you needed to roll that though. Okay, Zuka-chan, this is called a slope.
Also, just one thing I want to note is Demetrius NP says, "What about Mario Odyssey? They did 2D well." And yeah, they did. I would love something like if maybe Sonic ran into a wall or something and then turned into like a pixel art sprite, but only did it for maybe stretches worth 20 seconds or something. And it's maybe once a level or something.
Wait,
that would be
'cause
game.
it's still Mario. It's still Mario. It's like
Okay,
a
you know
full
what else? You know
3D
what else,
beautiful-
right?
There's
You know what else? Is that okay, so something that I heard this in another video. I think it was in the Geek Critiques video on Sonic Heroes. That special stages were redundant with the shift to 3D, because the whole point of special stages in the original was it's breathtaking 3D. Why not do special stages as 2D?
I'd be okay
Oh,
with
that'd
that.
be
Hilarious.
fun.
That'd be hilarious.
That'd be great.
Just a little
You're-
return to 60. You turn into a little 16-bit pixel, and then you're just going through a retro style Sonic level that lasts about a minute, and you get a Chaos Emerald at the end of it if you survive.
You know,
Yeah.
what else would be funny is if Sonic runs into a wall and breaks his fucking nose.
You just see it hanging and dangling, as you're running. If you tilt the camera in front of him, you see it just kind of swaying in the wind.
He's just.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Oh.
Tails! Look out for that wall.
I
That
do want to
reminds
mention
me-
this because they said this in the comments real quick before. Sorry, Pup, and I'll let you get to your point.
It's fine.
Says, I don't think Azuka's the problem. I think I used to think it was, but he was heavily involved in Mania. I think it's you have Sonic 2's final boss maze. I mean, Azuka knows Sonic. Don't get me wrong. He knows Sonic. He's a competent enough director. Let's be honest with each other. We just want our strawman. We want to blame something, but it's a much more complicated situation than it is. But ultimately, it does come down to the decision makers to sort this mess out. So I think they have a lot of stuff going in the right direction, but as ironic as it might sound, Sonic Team goes a little bit slow when it comes to learning. So I'm hoping we get there eventually.
Yeah.
Wayne's Wall reminded me. It's I've got a new ring theory, and I think you guys are gonna like this one a bit better.
Oh boy.
They're wasps
Because-
this time.
No, I know you guys didn't like the whole bee thing, so okay. Here's another theory. When Sonic gets hurt, what comes flying out of him?
Rings.
When a
Come.
human gets
Wait,
hurt,
no, rings.
when a human gets hurt, what comes flying out of them?
Bones.
Blood. Oh,
Oh, right, yeah.
In
Rings
combat, maybe.
Oh, blood.
the rings are blood, and in that universe, that's just blood. And the reason they're all scattered out across the levels is because it's where Dr. Robotnik has just dragged animals kicking and screaming into the little mech.
This is such a dark timeline. I unironically love this.
So that's
So-
blood theory. You
I'm
prefer bee
sorry,
theory or blood theory?
I don't hate that. You know what though? So they're not Chaos Emeralds, they're blood diamonds, basically.
Yes!
I mean, sure, they could be.
Inject the rings right into my veins, Robotnik!
Okay, I actually
you
love this
coward.
one.
Well, I mean,
This one comment here from Gucci. Hang on, I gotta defull screen this stupid phone. I want to see the comment. Gucci Lotus says the rings are Sonic's calcified piss. I mean, Sega did say, "What's blue and pisses everything." You know, that was the early 1991 tagline for Sonic.
That takes the
I'm
piss
sorry.
down the whole
I
idea.
need clarification here because I don't remember this. What are you talking about with blue piss?
Huh?
That was never
Yeah,
part of our
bringing
marketing.
up this
Pup.
quote, yeah. I don't recall this.
No, it was there was a newspaper advertisement for Sonic 1. It was official, and it had Sonic sitting at a bar with a little juice box, and it said, "What's blue and pisses all over everything?" It's
Oh.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
You're right. Hold on. I just found it. This is actually an old advertisement. What's blue and pisses all over everything? Sega have taken delivery of Sonic the Hedgehog on all formats, Master System going on forward. I actually have it as an image. I can throw it to you guys. This is silly.
This sounds familiar.
Here you go. Chat's not going to be able to see it unless like I want to throw this at chat randomly, but yeah, it's a thing.
You thought I was crazy, but
You
here
know,
it is.
this does
This
bring
is
up
familiar. Yeah.
this
the
might
How did I
be-
forget about this?
Okay,
Jesus.
piss theory.
I've
piss
never seen
theory
that
now.
before.
So
You know, this
choose
is-
your favorite chat. Send a $100 super chat for B
No.
theory, $1,000 super chat for
God
piss
damn it,
theory,
Pop.
and $1 million super chat for blood theory, and $1 million billion super chat
Oh
for their
my-
just fucking rings.
I also
And
just
those are your options.
I've also
It's
just
a
showed it for
delivery.
chat.
It's talking about pee. Like he was just born and he's just sipping. I assume he's sipping pee. I don't know what else.
It's
Oh,
gotta
no.
be
There's-
me.
There's so many DeviantArt fetishes in this one old ad. This is fascinating. I'm
Dude,
seeing
that's
the
what Sonic was
birth
about
of
in the
Sonic
90s.
and the birth of kinks. It's
I wanna go
amazing.
back
That's
to
what
bed.
Sonic was about in the 90s, though. Like Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. It had inflation in it. It had all sorts.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, dude. There's so much. No, there's
We have
so many-
opened up a terrible portal to hell.
Can I
That's,
die again?
This is what Sonic means to me. This is what I would
This
like to
is what
return to,
Sonic
please.
means now. Is
See-
what he means. This is what we've birthed.
See,
in
Wayne,
Shrek.
you see, while you were dead, Sunset City devolved into a nonsensical, absurdist hellscape. And now that you're back, do you regret your decisions? Would you rather go back and tango with Satan?
Wait, why did he go to hell again?
He died.
What did he do? Oh, he pirated movies. That's it.
You wouldn't download a bear.
You wouldn't download a car.
You wouldn't download bees.
Bees nuts.
Oh my
Oh.
god.
I'm so glad we had
Oh,
you back,
Wayne,
man.
I wish you were there for the Banjo Kazooie fight.
I've been
Oh.
watching the episodes. I've been listening in. I've been seeing what the freaking degenerates have
You've been
talking
watching
about.
over us. Hell somehow. So hell is officially above Earth. I never knew.
I mean, I believe it after the past year.
Oh
I
god.
feel you. I feel you.
Everybody,
Well, guys,
we've had fun.
I think it might be time
Wait.
to set the sun on this episode. Unless there's anything else we've been wanting to kind of talk about or
There's
discuss.
a comment I want to
I, for
point
one,
out.
am looking forward to the Christian Whitehead ports of the Sonic Advance trilogy.
So the one and only Danky says Wayne is tangoing with Satan. The reason I want to draw attention to this comment is how he spelled Wayne just makes me laugh.
When
It's really funny.
when
I want
I
to
mean,
spell
it's-
Wayne
it's
like
worse.
that from now on.
It's not as bad as I went that time I went to Arby's and it was spelled Wadding. It was WADNG. I've never forgotten that.
Oh, Wayne. He's Wayne.
Wait, what was the?
Wadang.
Someone gave you a different name as well in something else, didn't they? There was a previous podcast where the spelling of your name made me laugh. What was it though?
I
Was it
don't
like
know.
I don't know what
or-
made you laugh.
Wallace!
it was like
It was
Yeah,
Wallace.
Wallace.
Oh,
Wallace, you
Wallace!
just lost it completely. Yeah,
Wallace.
there it is. There it is.
Jesus.
You
So-
guys
well-
have Wallace and Gromit in the United States, right?
Yeah, we do. We do.
We're
Yes.
I'm familiar with Wallace.
We literally went through all this on the show before.
We did, yes.
So, with that said, how's everybody in chat feeling as we close? I was going to say as the sun sets on this episode, but then I said close, and I've ruined it for everyone. How are you guys feeling? Please save me from the awkward.
It's fine. Well, look, seriously, on a more serious note, before we wrap up, we've talked about it between the three of us more than a couple of times. And I've been at like a little bitchy little thing, I got ticked off at Pup over his opinions on Spider-Man 3. I don't know fucking why, but there's definitely been something missing. As much as I love these two guys here, and I would love to talk with either of them individually or the three of us together. Just love these guys, but when you pop into the chat with us, Wayne, you can definitely feel like this is a complete set. You've been missed very sorely here, and I think I speak for everybody here when I say that we are so incredibly happy to have you back, man.
Don't you dare fucking speak for me, but also, yes, I agree.
I knew it was this way from the start. I was always saying there are 6 of us, not 5. And now the league is complete.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about
I
it.
love you guys too. It's good to be back.
All right. Well, with all that said, Wayne, do you want to take us out?
Sure thing. I don't know how to end a podcast. I've completely forgotten how you guys usually do this, but thank you all so much for joining in. Thanks ever so much to everybody that listened, commented, used super chats, everything like that. We hope to hear from you again next time. And
Promote ourselves now. We promote ourselves.
And I fucking hate. Oh,
myself.
right. And I fucking hate Sonic. I'm Wayne.
So, Wayne, what do you do on the YouTube.coms?
I make retro game reviews mostly. I do some modern stuff from time to time. Definitely planning on doing a video about Ratchet and Clank when that comes out. I'm starting to get kind of excited about that. I am Wayne is Boss on YouTube, Twitter, whatever you can find me on is probably going to be under that.
Excellent. I wanted to say this because Davidson's been dropping some fucking fantastic comments. He's like, Wayne, more like when he's gone, I feel like pain.
Oh.
I just seen the thing you put that said wadding.
Just had the whole miss him, just want him back.
On my shirt.
Fucking wadding. Fucking wadding.
Wadding.
Oh, oh, let me mute for a second. I'm going to cry.
Also,
You know what? Because this
yeah.
is a live show and this is not anything else, I could actually show that. Wee! Wadding.
yeah. God damn it.
Gotta utilize that visual medium when we're not on Podbean. By the way, did you guys know you could listen to us on podcast services?
Absolutely. You can download us on a whole bunch of stuff, and I will I'm gonna try and get in contact with Apple again today so we can get that sorted out. But we'll have our RSS feed. What's that?
One season in and we're still not on Apple.
They're the worst. They're the absolute worst.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna want us on their podcast service now.
They don't listen. They don't care. It's fine. I think Apple's going to be okay regardless of my opinions.
Actually, the ghost of Steve Jobs is listening right now, just as Wayne did.
A huge Sonic fan then, so he's always angry.
Who the hell's Steve Jobs?
Well, you see, you might have met him in hell.
Anyway,
I'm really unhappy that nobody caught on to that joke and didn't end it properly. Never mind.
I don't know. I was going to say a joke about like Steve unemployment is the only one I know, but that would have been shit.
Anyway, let's wrap things up here, guys. Yeah, I'm a Game Apologist on everything you find Game Apologist, and I talk about Sonic, of course I do, and dinosaurs. Cyrus, what do you do?
I've got multiple channels. I've got Necosaurus over at Twitch. I generally do late night streams where I cover real life stuff and then play video games with chat. I've got Necosaurus, the gaming channel, where I do a variety of gaming content. Sometimes I talk about Sonic, sometimes I talk about Resident Evil. It just depends. Sometimes I'm complaining about Nintendo and their terrible decisions. It just depends on what you get. And then there's another channel just called Cyrus where I talk about real life stuff. If you hate yourself enough to listen to that instead of engaging in escapism, as you should be right now.
Yeah. And I'm Cyrus, and I have multiple. Wait, no, I'm Channel Pup, and I have a YouTube channel.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
All right, Wayne. Now, do you want to take us out?
He's going to take us out back like old Yeller.
Yeah, basically.
You can buy Sonic's piss at your local Walmart today.
Oh my god!
Stop the show. We're gone. I'm leaving. Bye, everybody.
Sorry, Wayne. You are now just a fucking. You're back. Everything's as proper.
No. I can't go back.
And don't forget, we're selling that tombstone as an NFT, guys. So if you want to buy it,
you know what? Thank you all for watching. We really appreciate you guys being here. Almost 200 viewers today. You guys are the fucking best.
You guys really are. Thank you so much. We're going to try and do this weekly. We're going to do our best to be at the same time every week on Friday. So if you've not subscribed yet on YouTube, be sure you do. Otherwise, be sure to catch us on your favorite podcast service.
except for Apple.
Except Apple.
For now. And now the sun sets on all of our bad jokes.
Just end.